Let's get started then. So Ruth's a user experience designer. She's involved with Stanford Interactive Design, a design agency in Australia. She loves the way humans interact with technology, and she's going to give us a speech today. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Hello. So hi, my name is Ruth. I love robots, so all kinds of robots. So you come talk to me about robots afterwards, because I love robots. I also make things with freaking lasers. So if you came to my talk earlier a few days ago, you would have heard me talking about laser cutting and jewellery. That's what I like to do in my spare time. I'm also a member of Canberra Hackerspace called Make Hack Forward. But in my day job, well, before I got to my day job, when I was young and I was going through uni, I thought I was going to grow up and be a FreeBSD system administrator. And I thought it was fascinating until I actually discovered systems architecture and then people and got really interested in that. And then I moved into design. So I started designing, I've been in the field about 11 years. And my first design job was actually designing for mainframe screens, which has its own challenges, I can tell you that, to accessibility. So what I'm going to be talking today is, well, about user experience. Is everybody here familiar with user experience, the term? Fantastic. Speaking to a whole bunch of people who's talking about this. I love how everyone's talking about this, even Vidal, right? You've been to his keynote on, was it Monday? He talked about, with Linux, that we need to differentiate ourselves by providing a better user experience. So what my talk about today is aging. Has anybody in the room managed to stop aging? Oh. Okay, I was hoping someone put up your hands because I thought if we have, awesome, we're all going to stop aging, we'll just throw away the story and go to the pub for a drink. But we haven't stopped aging, so we're going to continue with the talk. Now, aging, why is this stuff important? The United Nations did a report a few years ago looking at the effects of aging. Now, they say that by 2050, more than 1 in 5 people will be aged over 60 years of age. And you're probably going, well, is that really bad? Let's have a look at it in terms of Australia. So in Australia, in 1911, 4% of our Australian population was aged 65 or older. Last year in June, when we did the ABS stats, the stats crept up to 14.2% of Australians who are now aged 65 years and older. So the problem with this is that this brings about a whole wealth of problems because technology is getting better. We're living to a much longer age. But as we get older, problems occur. Because getting old really, really sucks. And I'm sure some of you can have some war stories. The whole reason that getting old sucks is because our abilities are gradually declining over time. So our abilities are changing very, very gradually in terms of vision, our mobility, hearing, and cognitive abilities. So has anybody noticed that eyesight has been declining a little bit over the last few years? And have you been noticing when you're reading, sort of doing this and like this? That's because our eye condition is changing. As we get older, our eye structure is actually, the elasticity of the lens changes. So what's trouble focusing on near tasks, so computer screens? You'll find if you're a coder, you'll be on the screen there for a lot of hours at a time. You're going to get this eye fatigue happening. And so that gets exhausting. So we talk about focusing. And what also changes is our colour perception and sensitivity. So our pupils shrink when we get older. So what that means is that the amount of light that enters our eye changes over time. So somebody who's 60 years old receives only 40% of the light that a 20-year-old receives. And if you get even older, so you're 80-year-old, you only receive 15%. Now that has an impact on what kind of colours we're going to use on the screen. I'm going to talk about that soon. We also have issues with contrast sensitivity. Has anybody having issues with some of the sexy grey coloured text on white backgrounds? Was that just me? Oh yeah, and I saw some tweets about some demos with different interesting uses of colour. I mean, that's one of the side effects of getting older, unfortunately. Another one is common eye diseases. So these are 2 common eye diseases that affect people around the world. So what I've got here, it's a little thing. I'm going to pass it around. It tries to actually simulate what it looks like having some of these conditions. So have a look when I pass it around. Look at the screen, look at me, and look around and see what it looks like. Because that's the kind of conditions that's going to affect you unless we solve these eye issues in the next few years. Now, physical ability. I'm sure you know everyone's got arthritis. It's a painful condition. I've also got RSI. So I don't have arthritis, but I have RSI, which affects my physical use of the computers. And as I get older, it's going to get worse. And I'm going to talk about why that's important. So 3.85 million people in Australia is affected. That's significant. Is anyone familiar with Parkinson's disease as well? Yep. I think a famous actor, who was it? Michael? Yeah, that's right. He brought it to the forefront. And you get a lot of it, you have issues with your hands tremoring, and that affects your mouse usage. So this affects one in 100 people when you hit over 60. That to me sounds pretty high. Now hearing's the other thing to go. As you get older, you start using your inability to hear high-pitched sounds. So that, and also you just have trouble hearing. I'm not sure even standing outside at tea time, it's actually really hard to hear conversations, the amount of the noise echoing. So that affects what appears on the screen. And my favourite one is actually cognitive ability. Dementia and Alzheimer's is the most common thing to affect us when we get older. So unfortunately, you're going to start noticing some things like trouble remembering names of people you met recently. So it's about how many people are at this conference. Like, ooh. So if I forget your name afterwards, please. I'm probably just going over the hill. Also, tendency to misplace things. And this affects when you're navigating on the web or a user interface. When your cognition's impaired, you actually start forgetting where things were within menus and sub-menus and what's the shortcut functions. So something to keep in mind. Now, one of the most important things to remember is that when we get older, this stuff is happening so gradually that we don't actually identify that we actually develop disability over time. Now, when we talk about accessibility, people go, oh, it's like people with disabilities. You go, yeah, that's great. But there's a whole bunch of people who do not identify with having a disability, and that's why this topic is really key for all you guys to be doing, that kind of open source interfaces. And like I like to say, we all exist on some kind of spectrum of ability. We might have some kind of no impairment down there, and apparently I've been told that looks like Bill Gates up there, and up to profound impairment. So we're all going to be moving along this spectrum until we stop aging, which hasn't happened. So TVL, he said a really powerful thing back in 1997. Actually, he said many powerful things, but this is one of my favourite. And the power of the web is in its universality. Access for everyone, regardless of disability, is an essential aspect. And that's why we do this. So, how do we design for all of this? Well, unfortunately, it's not allowed to give you a black and white rule. We design, you're always going to talk to designers, and we're always going to say, it depends. There really is no black and white answer, or no one-size-fits-all rule. So what I'm hoping to give you today is a set of situations and challenges and how we can potentially solve them. And maybe you can then apply it to your particular user interface. So the tool I like to use for doing this is called Personas. I think if you've been to either Andy's talk or there's another talk that's talking about Personas, you'll be familiar with this. So Personas is a high-level design tool. It just helps us characterize some high-level abilities and descriptions. So I want to meet Rose. So Rose is recently retired from an IT executive position, and she likes to spend her days golfing. She started to develop a bit of a hard, bit of hearing issues, but which she doesn't like to acknowledge at all. And she's also getting bad eyesight. Meet Charlie. So he's retired with an IT product manager job, has Parkinson's disease, which means he has difficulty using the mouse. He's also a very heavy user of social networks, IRC, all that stuff, to keep in touch with his classmates and colleagues and family. So keep these people in mind as we go through today, as I go through this kind of stuff. So we've got devices with them, computers, because I'm going to need you to open your computers. We're going to do some testing. So we're going to try some of these ourselves. So let's talk about vision. I've got the URL at the top. If you guys want to try it for yourself on your computer, because you're going to see it might look a bit different on your computer too. So top3.com.au. I'm sorry if you designed this website. I'm not trying to pick on you or anything. I'm just trying to find examples. Okay, the URL is top3.com.au. And you can go to the About page. Yeah, so can anyone see this? So if you're Rose or Charlie, what trouble would you have with this particular design?
Reading the URL.
Reading the URL, yeah. Good test.
Low contrast.
Low contrast, yep. Text is too small. Yeah, you might find me doing designers. Designers love to use little. Sorry? Yeah, if you've got the set up on your computer. Ah, there you go. So that's right, you can see on your computer. That's a good finding. Anybody else, if you want to Okay, so that's... Oh, sorry, repeat the last one. So you said, for those that didn't hear it onto the video, if you increase the font size, the actual menu actually overlaps. So if you've got a device, you can test it now.
The text is very wide, so if you have trouble with big blocks of text, it'll blur those together.
Yep, so
The lines are too long.
lines are too long, so which means that its readability actually decreases. So lots of interesting challenges with this one. And just to reinforce,
JavaScript either.
it doesn't work by JavaScript.
Yeah, the left menu, yeah. Some of the things which are currently call out, they require JavaScript to be turned on.
No, they didn't hear that. You need JavaScript for the menu to work, which is greatly on all devices.
Blind users.
For blind users, yes. I'm using certain kinds of screen readers and assistive technologies. Now this, how often do we see this kind of stuff? Can anybody read what that says? I present a lot of design conferences, and designers, we just love to do this. Grey text on black background, it's so sexy. Except the fact that if you're in the front, if not in the front row, you can't really see it. But well, this one. For those who can't see the screen, it says, but grey text on white background, even sexier, right? Apple, right?
Grey text on white background in image file.
Grey text on image file. Yes. Flash animations, even worse, because you can't even enlarge the font, even try to work out, only select it, see what's going on. So please, if you're going to choose designs, I know that this might look really sexy, but please think of the contrast, think of your users. How about this one? I think Denise has actually touched on this one. So if you want to look at it, the URL is typographyserved.com. And I picked one that says, I think /gallery and quotes. You can see it on my screen, but feel free to try it on yours, because you're going to notice something interesting when you look at it on your screen. Can anyone tell me what trouble Rosenchild would have with this kind of?
Boxes on the right-hand side below the
So the question was boxes on the right-hand side that has grey text on the grey background, and what does it say? I'm not quite sure. I can't quite see that either. You can see the responses, so it was responses.
Their responses.
That's right, the responses.
Without even looking at it, I'm going to guess that the alt text on that image sucks.
That's a good one. Actually, I didn't test that one. Yeah, it probably would be.